and welcome to our daily word this morning. I'm glad you could join me yet again for our time together. Deeply appreciative that you've chosen on a daily basis to spend these 8 or 9 or 10 minutes with me, depending on how windy I get, and to just explore scripture with me and to think about what it means for us and how we live our lives and just who God's calling us to be, in the midst of, Sunday morning and yesterday talking about love and those deep expressions that God has placed in us. And so today is daily word number 780 as we continue our journey together. And today's scripture kind of follows Sunday and Monday a bit, but it's also kind of personal and interesting. I asked a question this morning on my personal page. What do you do when you don't know what to do? And I know many of my friends are clergy kind of folks, and so I knew they were all going to say pray. And they did. And I get that. Look, I'm a deep praying person, man. I pray a lot all the time, it seems. I'm not a hero about it. It's just where I am. But I wanted us to go deeper than that. I've got some interesting responses that I appreciate, about being in nature, about taking time, about praying, about listening, about talking to friends. One of the best ones, not best, because that's a bad thing. One of the things that resonated with me from a clergy colleague, he said that he just continues to show up, to be present. And I thought, I often feel like my showing up, being present, is so inadequate. But it gave me something new to think about. And then this scripture for today from Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. So I got to thinking about all of that and the physical nature of who we are. So, I got to think about just what I've done so far today. Get out of bed, brush my teeth, get in the shower, brush my hair, get dried off, get dressed, get my stuff together. Diana and I leave at the same time, about 7:20, give her a kiss in the garage, get in my car, drive to Frisch's, have a conversation with Kate at the waitress there, eat my food, join in other conversations in the restaurant, send some text messages, reply to a couple emails, post that question, what do you do when you don't know what to do, pay my bill, get back in the car, drive here, open everything up, start my computer, again, joining conversations. I've had 6 people in my office already this morning, returning text messages, 3 more text messages to return as I'm sitting here, a couple of emails to respond to, and it's 10:04. That's a lot of things. And you all are in the same boat, I know. So I got to thinking about this scripture. What do we do? What is it, all of our physical actions, how are they pleasing to God? Tomorrow I'll preach a funeral in Kenton for a person I didn't know particularly, but I have deep, deep, deep connections to the family. Weddings, funerals of the other parents, funerals of a young sister, just friendships throughout life. We have these deep connections. And before I preach that funeral tomorrow, officiate that funeral tomorrow, I'll pray the prayer I always pray. May my words be acceptable in God's sight. The meditation of our hearts, my words be acceptable in God's sight. I've had 15 surgeries. I'm overweight. It's frustrating. I can't do what I want to do. You know, this surgery still hurts. This one cut me really deep, just from a physical standpoint and my reaction to it. I found out reading my report that I had some blood pressure issue during my surgery. I don't know what it was, but you know, kind of makes you wonder what happened during surgery. But I got to thinking about all of that, and yes, it's frustrating, and yes, I can't do what I want to do yet and be where I want to be. This morning, Kate said, "Jim, how are you?" I said, "I'm getting there." She said, "Jim, that's what you always say. You've been telling me that for months and months. I'm getting there." I said, You're right, Kate, but aren't we all just getting there? What is it about our gestures, our words, our actions, what we eat, what we say, where we go, where we walk? What is it about those things that the scripture says should be presented as a living sacrifice to God? That what we do should honor God. Now, I know that my having too much belly, and my grandkids like to remind me, "Papa, you got a baby in there?" I get it, you know, they're not being mean, it's what they understand. I know that's not honoring to God. And sometimes my words aren't honoring to God, and my gestures aren't honoring to God. But there's this reminder for us that our bodies are God's dwelling place, and that we should be careful with our words and our thoughts and our actions and the things that we do. I try to be uplifting. I try to be a light for folks. I try to be a good influence, if you will. You know, I've been reading a lot. I don't know if you've heard this term, but I've been reading a lot about influencers. So who are the influencers in our kids' lives, our youth lives? Who are the influencers in our lives? You know, who influences us? And I think a lot about that with kids, especially, and my grandkids and the youth of our church. Who are the influencers? We know we have the parents and grandparents and teachers, but there are other folks, you know, on the fringe who I know have become influencers, who aren't the greatest influence in the world. And we should be, I particularly want to be a good influence. I want to be an influencer. And I do that, I think, by living out this scripture. "I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship." The incarnation of God in us invites us to experience our physical, our mental, our spiritual, our hearts as an existence for a dwelling place for the holy. And I think that's what we're called to. And you know, I think that continues the conversation about owing nobody anything except love. And yesterday's conversation about love, you know, and that we're so identifiable as followers, as people of the way, as disciples, because we love each other so radically. It's a powerful thing. And so I hope that for us, you know, that this strikes a chord in us, that you and I would be influencers of all of those around us, and that we would use that as a sacrifice that's acceptable to God. So I hope that's a good word for you today, as it is for me. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for being with me today. There will not be a daily word tomorrow. The funeral begins at 11 o'clock in Kenton. So I have that drive to make, and I want to be there early because I need to talk to a couple folks in the family just to concur about what it is that we're going to say tomorrow at this funeral. So I appreciate your prayers for traveling mercies. I'm going to end up at the lake for a couple days, I believe. That's my plan. So Thursday morning, I might be at the lake when I come to you with our daily word. So thanks for joining me. Know of God's love that surrounds you. Know of my love for you. And I'll see you Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.